How to build a hands-free rental portfolio. What if I told you that owning rental properties doesn't have to mean answering midnight calls about broken furnaces, chasing tenants for rent, or spending your weekends driving between units? What if your rental portfolio could essentially run itself while you focus on acquiring more assets, spending time with your family, or simply living your life? Today, we are going to break down exactly how to build a zero-effort rental portfolio using outsourced professional property management systems. And trust me, by the end of this video, your entire perspective on what it means to be a property owner is going to shift dramatically. Before we dive in, if you find value in what we share here, please take a moment right now to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Your support genuinely helps this channel grow and allows me to keep bringing you content that actually moves the needle in your financial life. Now, let us get into it. Hello, I am Niels, and let us start today by addressing the single biggest mindset trap that keeps most property owners stuck, overwhelmed, and burnt out. The trap is this: most people who buy rental properties still think of themselves as landlords, and the moment you start thinking like a landlord, you have just signed up for a second job. A landlord fields calls, fixes problems, manages personalities, and spends enormous amounts of mental energy on day-to-day operations. A portfolio owner, on the other hand, thinks in systems, structures, and scalability. This distinction is not just semantic. It fundamentally changes every decision you make, every property you buy, and every person you hire. The portfolio owner asks different questions. Instead of asking which tenant seems like the nicest person, they ask which management company has the most robust screening systems. Instead of asking how much does a plumber cost, they ask what preventative maintenance schedule does my management team operate on. The shift from landlord to portfolio owner is the foundation upon which everything else in this video is built. So let us spend a moment really cementing this idea before we move forward. When you think like a portfolio owner, you are essentially treating your real estate investments exactly the same way a business owner treats their company. You are not the one doing the work. You are the one designing the work, hiring the people who do the work, and measuring the results. This is what we call the system mindset, and it is absolutely transformational. The system mindset means that your role becomes one of a chief executive rather than a boots on the ground operator. You review reports, you set standards, you make strategic acquisitions, you evaluate performance. You do not unclog drains, approve paint colors, or argue with tenants about lease clauses. A properly designed property management system handles all of that for you. And the beautiful truth is that this is entirely achievable for the average investor. You do not need 100 units to justify professional management. Even with 3 or 4 properties, outsourcing to the right management company can save your sanity, protect your time, and actually improve your financial performance, because professionals simply do this better than most individual landlords can. If you want to go even deeper into building these systems from the ground up, I want to encourage you to check out my Effective Property Management course, and you can become a member by clicking the link in the description below. It is packed with strategies that will completely change how you approach your portfolio. Now, let us talk about something that most investors overlook when they are vetting property management companies, and that is automation and reporting capabilities. Most people interview a management company and ask surface level questions. How much do you charge? What is your vacancy rate? How long have you been in business? These are okay questions, but they are not the right questions if your goal is to build a truly hands-off operation. The right questions dig into the technology infrastructure of the company, because the technology is what separates a management company that requires you to babysit them from one that actually lets you step away from the operations entirely. Here is what you need to ask about specifically. First, what property management software do they use, and what does the owner portal look like? A modern, high-quality management company should be using a robust software platform that gives you real-time access to your financials, your maintenance requests, your lease information, and your tenant communication logs. When you log in, you should be able to see your current rent roll, your income and expenses, and your property performance metrics without having to call anyone or send a single email. Second, ask about automated rent collection. Does the software automatically charge tenants, apply late fees, and generate rent receipts without any human intervention required on your end? If tenants are still mailing checks or dropping off cash, that is a major red flag. Modern management companies use electronic payment systems that create an automatic, traceable, and reliable collection process. Third, ask about owner disbursements. When exactly does your money get deposited into your account each month? And is it automated? A professional operation should have a fixed disbursement schedule, and the deposit should hit your account without you having to follow up, check in, or wonder where your money is. Fourth, ask about financial reporting. Do they provide monthly owner statements, annual summaries, and year-end tax documents automatically? Can you pull a report at any time from your owner portal without waiting for someone to manually generate it? This is critical because it eliminates the need for you to double check every bank deposit. When the reporting is automated, accurate, and accessible, you have total visibility without being operationally involved. Fifth, ask about maintenance management. Is there a ticketing system that tracks every maintenance request from submission to completion, including photos, invoices, and vendor notes? Can you see all of this in your portal? A transparent maintenance tracking system means you never have to wonder what was done, who did it, or how much it cost. Everything is documented, categorized, and visible to you on demand. When all five of these systems are in place, something remarkable happens. You stop being a participant in the day-to-day operations of your properties, and you become an observer of a system that runs without you. That is the architecture of a truly passive investment. And this is not a fantasy. This is what sophisticated investors demand from their management teams, and it is completely available to you right now. Let us now talk about one of the most powerful advantages of building a professionally managed, systemized portfolio, and that is the ability to scale beyond yourself and beyond your geography. One of the biggest limitations facing self-managing landlords is that they can only realistically own properties close to where they live. They need to be able to drive to the property, meet the tenants, inspect the units, and supervise the work. This creates an invisible ceiling on their portfolio because the best real estate opportunities are not always in your backyard. When you have a professional management system in place, that ceiling disappears entirely. You can own properties in different cities, different provinces, or even across the country, and your day-to-day experience as an owner is exactly the same regardless of where the properties are physically located. You log into your owner portal, review your reports, and check your performance metrics. That is it. The local management company handles everything on the ground. This geographic freedom is what allows serious portfolio builders to capitalize on market cycles. Maybe your local market is overpriced right now, but another city is offering incredible value. Without a management system, you are stuck. With one, you can buy where the numbers make sense and let a local professional team handle the rest. This is how experienced investors build wealth significantly faster than their self-managing counterparts. They are not limited by geography, personal energy, or time. They are only limited by capital and deal flow, which are the right kinds of limitations to have because both can be systematically addressed. Now let us get into the case studies, because theory is one thing, but seeing how this plays out in real life is where the lessons really land. These five examples represent different scenarios that property investors commonly face, and each one illustrates a specific principle from what we have been discussing. Case study 1. An investor in a major metropolitan area owned 4 condominiums that she had been self-managing for 3 years. She was a full-time professional with a demanding career, and the properties were consuming roughly 15 to 20 hours of her time every single month, between tenant inquiries, lease renewals, Coordinating repairs, reviewing invoices, and tracking her finances manually in a spreadsheet, she was constantly pulled away from her primary work and her personal life. When she transitioned to a professional management company with a full owner portal and automated reporting, something striking happened. Her monthly time investment dropped to under 2 hours, and that was just reviewing her monthly reports over a cup of coffee. Her net income actually increased in the first year because the management company's screening process significantly reduced tenant turnover. And their established vendor relationships meant repairs were completed faster and at negotiated rates she never could have accessed independently. The properties now run entirely on autopilot, and she is actively looking to add more units to her portfolio without any anxiety about managing additional workload. Case study 2. An investor owned a pair of single-family rental homes in his home city and had always been resistant to professional management because he believed he would lose too much of his cash flow to management fees. He ran the numbers himself and determined that keeping management in-house was the financially smart move. What he failed to account for, however, was the hidden cost of his own time. When you assign even a modest hourly value to the time you spend managing properties, the math changes completely. Once he began calculating his time at a reasonable professional rate, he realized he was effectively working for almost nothing after accounting for the hours he invested. He reluctantly transitioned to professional management and within 18 months had used the reclaimed time to research, analyze, and acquire 2 additional properties. The management fees he pays are now completely offset by the additional income from the new acquisitions that he never would have had the bandwidth to pursue if he had kept managing everything himself. The lesson is that management fees are not a cost, they are an investment in your own capacity to grow. Case study 3. A couple who had built a small portfolio of 6 units in their home province started noticing that property values in their region had appreciated significantly, making new acquisitions there increasingly difficult to justify from a return standpoint. They had always been intimidated by the idea of owning property somewhere they had never lived, but after connecting with a reputable management company in another province, they decided to test the concept. They purchased 2 properties in a market several provinces away, based purely on the numbers and the quality of the management infrastructure available there. They have never physically visited either property. All communication with tenants is handled by the management company. All maintenance is coordinated locally. All financial reporting arrives in their owner portal each month without any effort on their part. Their out-of-province properties are now among the strongest performers in their entire portfolio, and they are actively expanding in that same market. Geographic limitations only exist for investors who are still operating like landlords rather than like portfolio owners. Case study 4. An investor who had retired early and was living on a combination of pension income and rental income from 8 units reached a point where the self-management of those properties was becoming genuinely stressful. Retirement is supposed to represent freedom, but managing 8 units independently had essentially created a new job complete with all the stress and none of the salary. He transitioned fully to professional management and within the first 6 months experienced a significant reduction in his stress levels, according to his own account. More importantly, his financial outcomes did not deteriorate as he had feared. The professional management company maintained occupancy rates comparable to what he had achieved himself, collected rent on time with greater consistency due to automated system, and handled a major roof repair on one of the properties entirely without his involvement, from the contractor selection to the invoice approval to the payment processing. He describes the transition as one of the best financial decisions he made in his entire investing career, because it converted his real estate holdings from a source of stress into a genuine passive income stream. Case study 5. A newer investor purchased her first 2 rental properties with an explicit intention from day one to never self-manage. She had read about the lifestyle and financial benefits of building a systemized portfolio and decided to build the infrastructure correctly from the beginning rather than starting hands-on and transitioning later. She interviewed multiple management companies before making her first purchase, selecting one specifically based on the sophistication of their technology platform and their track record with investor clients. She structured her property acquisition strategy around what that management company was capable of, selecting properties in neighborhoods and price ranges where they had demonstrated expertise. Within 3 years of her first purchase, she had added 4 additional properties to her portfolio without increasing her personal time investment by a single hour. Because she never developed the self-managing habit in the first place, she never had to break it. Her portfolio generates consistent monthly income that appears in her bank account automatically while she continues to work her primary career and research her next acquisition. She is proof that you do not have to start as a landlord to become a portfolio owner. You can start at the destination. Now I want to take a moment to talk about the free resources I have made available to support your journey. I have put together a free ebook, Manage Properties Like a Pro, as well as a free course, both of which you can download right now by clicking the link in the description below this lesson. Whether you are just getting started or you are already managing a portfolio and looking to systemize and scale, these resources will give you a concrete foundation to build from. They are completely free and they are waiting for you right now in the description. Let us talk about what happens when the systems are in place and the management company is operating well, because there is still a role for you as the portfolio owner, and it is important to understand what that role looks like. Your job as a systemized portfolio owner is not to disappear entirely from the picture. It is to operate at the strategic level rather than the operational level. On a practical basis, this means setting aside time once a month to review your owner's statements and monthly reports. You are looking at key performance indicators, occupancy rates, rent collection percentages, maintenance costs as a proportion of income, and year-over-year comparisons. You are not approving individual work orders or interviewing prospective tenants. You are evaluating whether the overall system is performing to your standards. Quarterly, you might have a brief call with your property manager to discuss anything notable that has emerged, review upcoming lease renewals, and discuss any capital improvements that might be warranted. Annually, you are reviewing market conditions to assess whether your rents are competitive, evaluating your overall portfolio performance against your financial goals, and considering whether new acquisitions make sense. That is essentially the sum total of your involvement when a well-designed system is running correctly. We are talking about perhaps 3 to 5 hours per month spread across an entire portfolio. This is what genuine passive income looks like when it is structured properly. And here is something that many investors do not realize until they experience it firsthand. When you remove yourself from the operational details, you actually become a better strategic decision maker. You are no longer emotionally entangled in the day-to-day drama of tenant relationships or maintenance headaches. You can evaluate your portfolio with clear eyes and make decisions based purely on data and strategy. This mental clarity is one of the most underrated benefits of building a truly systemized portfolio, and it accelerates your growth in ways that are difficult to quantify but impossible to ignore once you experience them. I also want to address a concern that comes up consistently when investors first consider professional management. Many worry that a management company simply will not care as much about their properties as they would themselves. And while it is true that no one will ever be as invested in your assets as you are, the solution is not to manage everything yourself. The solution is to select the right management company through a thorough vetting process and to establish clear performance expectations from the beginning. A well-chosen management company with the right systems in place will consistently outperform a stressed, stretched, overworked individual owner. They have specialized knowledge, established vendor networks, refined screening processes, and professional expertise that most individual landlords simply cannot replicate on their own. The key is doing the upfront work of finding the right partner, which is an investment of time you only make once per market, rather than every single day for the life of the investment. If you want to master exactly how to find, vet, and work with professional property management companies to build a truly scalable portfolio, My effective property management course covers all of this in comprehensive detail. I encourage you to become a member by clicking the link in the description. The knowledge inside that course can fundamentally change your trajectory as an investor and give you the tools to build exactly the kind of portfolio we have been talking about today. Let me also paint a picture of what the scaling process actually looks like once your system is functioning well, because this is where the real magic of this model becomes clear. When you own two self-managed properties and you want to buy a third, it feels difficult because you are already stretched. When you own two professionally managed properties and want to buy a third, it feels like adding a new holding to a folder. The operational complexity does not increase in any meaningful way. Your management company adds the property to your portfolio. The same systems apply. The same reporting populates in your portal. Your involvement remains the same. This means that each acquisition becomes easier, not harder, and your momentum builds with every property you add, rather than grinding to a halt when you hit your personal capacity ceiling. Investors who build their portfolios this way consistently report that the jump from 2 properties to 10 properties felt less difficult than the jump from 0 to 2, because by the time they had the system running smoothly, adding properties was simply a matter of finding good deals and having the capital to act on them. That is a completely different experience from the self-managing investor who hits a wall at 4 or 5 units and cannot imagine adding even one more without losing their mind. The system scales. You do not have to. I want to also point out that building this kind of portfolio is not exclusively for people who are already wealthy or who have large amounts of capital deployed. The system mindset and the professional management infrastructure can be established from your very first property. Every principle we have discussed today applies equally to someone with one rental unit and someone with 50. The difference is simply how early you build the right habits and structures, and how quickly you position yourself to scale without limits. As we wrap up today, I want to remind you once again to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you found value in what we covered. Your engagement helps more investors find this content and build the kind of financial freedom that a properly structured rental portfolio can provide. Every like, every subscription, and every comment genuinely makes a difference, and I am grateful for each one. The path from landlord to portfolio owner is one of the most important transitions you will ever make in your investing journey. It requires a shift in mindset, a commitment to building the right systems, and the willingness to trust skilled professionals to execute on your behalf. The payoff is a portfolio that grows without consuming your life, income that arrives without demanding your attention, and the freedom to focus on what matters most to you, whether that is your family, your career, your health, or your next big investment opportunity. Do not forget to grab my free ebook Manage Properties Like a Pro and the free course available at the link in the description below. These resources are your next step, and they are available to you right now at absolutely no cost. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you who shows up to learn, grow, and build a better financial future. This kind of investing is not just about money. It is about designing a life that works on your terms, and I am honored to be a part of that journey with you. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and I will see you in the next one.